That's awesome.
Great playing. Unreal, bro. That was unbelievable.
The kick is good. Rams win it, and on to Super Bowl 53 they go.
The AFC and NFC champions have been decided, which means it's time for the Super Bowl. And as you can see, my nephew is very excited. Super Bowl 53 won't take place for another 2 weeks, so instead of going over predictions until February 3rd, I'll give you my take on a controversial NBA topic as well as some exciting news in NCAA basketball. It all happens here when I call the shots. Sunday marked the first time in NFL postseason history that 2 games went into overtime on the same day. As if the inevitable criticism of the NFL's OT rules weren't enough, there were a couple of questionable calls made by the refs, one of which the NFL apparently apologized for.
They blew the call and said it should never have not been a call. They said not only was it interference, it was helmet to helmet. There were 2 calls. They couldn't believe it. So that was... No, we spoke initially, then I called to follow up, and the first thing Al said when I got on the phone.
After finishing 4-12 in the 2016 season, the Los Angeles Rams are going to the Super Bowl. Since the 32-year-old Sean McVay took over as head coach after that season, the Rams have improved their record to 24-8, largely thanks to his aggressive play calling. He played it relatively safe on Sunday, though. For example, trailing 20-17 in the 4th quarter with 5 minutes remaining, the Rams faced 4th and goal on the Saints' 1-yard line, and McVay opted to kick, which, he never does. Nevertheless, the NFC Championship game went into overtime, with the Saints winning the coin toss. Their opportunity ended after just 3 plays when Drew Brees lofted the ball up under pressure, only to have it come down in the hands of John Johnson III on the Rams' 46. The Rams only gained 15 yards there, but that was just enough for their kicker to make the longest field goal in Rams playoff history. Of course, all that could mean nothing if NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell decides to step in. Should he so choose, he has the power to reverse or reschedule the outcome of the game between the Saints and the Rams. No, really. The commissioner has the sole authority to investigate and take appropriate disciplinary action and/or corrective measures if any club action, non-participant interference, or calamity occurs in an NFL game which the commissioner deems so extraordinarily unfair or outside the accepted tactics encountered in professional football that such action has a major effect on the results of the game. Not quite as dramatic on the AFC side, but there was a missed roughing the passer call on Patriots defensive lineman Trey Flowers halfway through the 3rd quarter. Flowers went for Mahomes' shoulder, but as you can clearly see in the replay, he got his helmet as well. It's even worse because that call was later made in Tom Brady's favor, even though Chiefs defensive lineman Chris Jones only hit him in the shoulder pad and chest. The Chiefs looked terrible off the bat, but they battled back and made a game of it in the second half. Exhibit A.
If there's ever been one this early.
Here's Mahomes, all kinds of time. So Heck's crew gave him the protection he longed for. And he's going long to Watkins.
Unfortunately, the game started pretty much the way it ended, with an interminable Patriots series that culminated in a bruising touchdown. When you think of the NBA's MVP, most people would probably think of LeBron James first, not the reigning MVP James Harden. James, of the LeBron variety, is considered by some to be the best basketball player in the world and is often regarded to be the greatest player of all time. So which man is more valuable to his team? Harden leads the league in scoring with 35.7 points per game, while James is ranked 6th with 27.3. Harden now has more 50-point games than James, and he has the most 50-point triple-doubles in NBA history. The margin is close, but Harden is also a slightly better passer, averaging 1.4 assists per game more than James. So the statistics point to Harden, right? Not quite. Although their averages are close, James grabs a few more rebounds, eclipsing Harden's total by 1.9 boards per game. And although Harden's best seems to be better than James' best, James wins in the consistency column, despite all his bouncing around, no pun intended. from team to team. Harden has been an NBA All-Star and All-NBA first-team selection in recent years, but James achieved those accolades early in his professional career, and he has not let up since. James isn't my favorite, but he has carried teams to and through the playoffs. A few days ago, Harden went for 58 points on 34 shots, and the Rockets still lost to the Nets in overtime. Maybe Harden should be the MVP again this year, but LeBron should be the MVP every year. Speaking of players who can carry a team, I'm covering UConn women's basketball player Megan Walker on this week's edition of Sunday Scaries. The Huskies outscored Tulane 75-33 on Wednesday. Walker finished with a career-high 34 points. The sophomore averages 11 points per game, but by the end of the first half, she had already scored 15 points. With Tulane focusing on stopping UConn's leading scorers, Walker was able to take command. She became the first Division I player, male or female, to outscore the entire opposing team in a conference game since Cincinnati's Steve Logan outscored Southern Miss 41-37 on February 15, 2002. That wraps it up for this week's episode of Call the Shots. I'm Olivia Jaquith, and I will see you next week.